Although this is the 2022 halftime report, I think it would be good to go back a little bit to kind of retrace how we got to where we are right now. I remember February 2020, had returned from the Dominican Republic and our yearly trip there, seen a few masks in the airport, had heard of another virus that was coming out of Asia, much like bird flu a few years before. Nothing that we understood at the time was going to change our lives. I remember being at the pastor's retreat at Camp Good News, and things were changing rapidly. And so I did a live video from the porch outside of the dining hall at Camp Good News as we made sudden changes to that Sunday with leaving the doors open and leaving bulletins for people to pick up and not passing the plates and trying to do a little bit of distancing with the idea that this was coming, it was among us, and we needed to be careful. I remember second service, we were down by 2/3 in attendance that Sunday. And I commented to those of you who were here at the time, I wonder if we will even have church next week. And of course, by the next week, we did not have church as a Sunday morning service. We moved to streaming. And the week after that, Cody had built a streaming studio in his office. And for the next few months, we were online only. Well, now it's over a year later since we got back. We are almost 2 years. In a few weeks, a month will be 2 years since that first hit. And we had no idea. And the Bible tells us that we're not going to know the future. We think we know. We think we can say, hey, this is what we'll do in the next year. But the Bible says, Jesus said, you don't know what a day will bring forth. You don't know what's going to happen. And the last 2 years have really driven that point home in ways that none of us have enjoyed. And it's been difficult. And it's changed us. It's changed our society here in the United States and around the world, because this has not been a USA phenomenon, even though sometimes we act like this is purely a product of the United States. But everyone has been dealing with these issues. So now where do we go? Here at the halftime report, our former annual meeting in January, is when we're supposed to be looking into the second half of our ministry year and through our fiscal year, making predictions, setting goals, and yet that's been almost impossible. It's been almost impossible for a number of reasons. Not just because we don't know what's going to happen from a public health standpoint, but from the fact that as we have been under so much strain as people, as members of our community and society, it has become harder for us to function in the ways that we are used to functioning. And we see that played out across all the different parts of our world. We see it workplaces and volunteer organizations and in what we call church. Because can we still serve the same way? Do we have the same people? Do we have enough people? Can we do the things we've done before? Even as simple as walking into this building on a Sunday morning and sitting down and doing a service the way we've always done it. And for many of us, we haven't done it. We're not here as often, or maybe we're not here at all right now. Maybe you are still watching this on a stream if you keep up with it, because, hey, it's hard. And all of our lives have changed. So then how do we plan? How do we go forward when we've found ourselves at this place? So I want to talk about two things briefly in this report as your pastor, as your senior pastor, and as one of the elders set to shepherd this fellowship. One, what's happened? A quick report on where we've been. We could go into great detail. It would be a longer report than any of us want to deal with right now. But it's been hard, and there have been areas we have failed. And I don't say that with a ton of shame and guilt, even though I'm good at those emotions, because again, we've all failed, not just at Bean's Corner, but everywhere. It's just been hard, and failure has been inevitable because we haven't known what to do, and we've had incomplete information because nobody knew. There's been no expert on something that hadn't happened before, a disease that didn't used to exist. And so we've all been guessing, and when you're guessing, you're going to guess wrong part of the time. And so whether you're a politician or a doctor or a pastor or just someone trying to navigate through the conflicting information, we have all failed. And that's where we are. And so the first thing is to realize, we have all failed in different ways. Some of us maybe with more consequence than others, maybe some of us more than others. But it's just been tough. And so I can look back over the last 2 years and I can see all kinds of things I wish I'd done differently. All kinds of times that I allowed the circumstances to affect me in ways that then affected others in negative ways, including as pastor. And man, when you're pastor, your mistakes affect more people. And that's been tough, but very real. So if you look over the last year and you say, man, I wish the church had done this. Boy, I'm full of those. Yes, there are so many things that we should have done differently. But then we did some things well too. It was exciting to be able to make adjustments that worked and to see that compared to some places, we've been actually able to thrive some. We've been able to positively impact our community, whether it be the share cupboard, the Christmas gift bags, still doing cookies and cocoa, different things we did like trunk or treat last year, in 2020 drive-through, in 2021 walk-through, and seeing over 100 people blessed. We've seen new people want to become part of us, including 18 people going through new members class this fall. We've seen new members voted in. We saw our baptism. So we've seen God do good things despite our frailty, our mistakes, and our struggles. And that is reassuring to me and an important reminder that church that we do is vital, and what we do here matters, but remembering that we are tools and that God is the carpenter, God is building his church, and we are seeing him build it here, even though we are not always up to the job the way we ought to be. So with that in mind, where do we go next? And the short answer is, we don't know. We don't know how to proceed in all the details. So we're trying to figure it out. So here's what I do know. I know that we need to start by making sure that we don't try to rebuild doing church things without rebuilding, re-embracing being the church. And being the church has everything to do with being connected to one another. The Bible says, do not forsake the fellowshipping of yourselves together with one another. And when the Bible implores us to not forsake that, it's not talking about not going to an event. So it's not talking about just don't miss church on Sunday. Because you could miss church on Sunday and be in fellowship, and you could come to church on Sunday and not be. You can attend every Sunday and be forsaking fellowshipping. Because the key of fellowshipping is that we're part of one another, that we're connected with one another. And any one event or participation does not define that. It flows out of that. And so we need to reconnect. And so if you have considered yourself part of Bean's Corner, and you consider yourself part of Bean's Corner now, whether you're a member or not, but especially if you're a member, the first question to ask is, how can I connect? Whether it's being here on Sunday morning. Sunday morning is a kind of low-hanging fruit of connecting, but it's not always been safe, and so sometimes we haven't. But however you do, reconnecting. and saying, I need to maybe re-energize some of those relationships with the one another of Beans Corner. And then from there, as we say, now what can we do as we are connected to one another, as we are trying to support one another and be part of one another's lives, then what can we do to build those things? And so that might be hosting or helping lead a community, or just participating in a community, just signing up and saying, I'll go. I will be part of a community, and by my very attendance, make the community work. We have kids, and our children's ministry is going to be a huge challenge. Schools are struggling, we're going to struggle with it too. But the one thing that school is, God is sending us kids, they're here. And depending on how the pandemic progresses from this point on, we're likely to have more kids. And if we have kids, we need people who can talk to them, spend time with them, help staff a ministry where they can not always have to be in the morning service, but can be down the hall. So there's opportunities. There's so many ways that we can connect to one another in practical ways that are part of being the church and doing church things. No one can make you answer that question. You have to answer it for yourself. What does it mean for me to connect? What does it mean for the church at Beans Corner to be where I experience being part of the church? But I think answering those questions and then working at it is what we're going to be doing next. As we try to decode this, we need each other. We need grace for each other, and grace for us in leadership who are trying to make good decisions but sometimes fail, either because we're so tired and stressed as well, or just because we don't know what to do. But whether it be from ignorance or weakness or just plain old human failure, that we all extend grace to one another the way Christ has extended grace to us, and encourage and spur one another on with grace to love and good deeds. That we will push each other gently, but to love each other more, love that's active, and good deeds, which are the good things we do based on that love for each other and love for our community. I feel generally that we've done a pretty good job. Not the best job. And I feel like overall we've tried to keep a good focus. And I hope that we can continue to have a good focus. A focus on what is the mission God has given us. And the mission is to be a community of disciples that makes disciples. For years, we've pictured this through the three phrases: going out, bringing in, building up. Going out and connecting with our community, letting them know we care so that we can tell them that Jesus cares. To show them love and welcome through practical things. And then bringing in, inviting them in, because it's not just, hey, we're nice to you. It's you need to hear that God came to you and offered you something more than a gift card or a meal. He offered you his Son, Jesus Christ, who came, was born as a human, lived as a human, died as a human, and laid down his life on the cross so that we might have a relationship with God. And so coming in is not about attending church. It's coming into that community that is united around the cross, united around Jesus' death and resurrection. And then from there, growing in that, understanding more what it means to live that new kind of life as a new kind of community. A community not based on how much alike we are, but how much we have all been affected by the redemptive love of God. Keeping that focus, that mission. So whether it's we do children's ministry, not because children's ministry is a fun thing to do for Sunday mornings, but because it's a way to help accomplish going out, bringing in, building up. Doing communities, small groups, not because those are nice things for churches to do, because that is where some of the building up, the bringing in and building up happens. And then through those coming in and coming together and building up, sometimes then those communities can go out and do things like shoveling snow or working up wood, raking someone's lawn, and caring, going out. Whether it be through giving, whether it be through taking care of the facility, helping with food, supporting missions, or going on missions trips once we're able to do that again. But finding the ways in which we each contribute to one another and to the going out, the bringing in, and the building up. I pray that that's our legacy, that the next time, should the Lord tarry and leave me here, that the next time in 2023, as we look back on 2022, I pray that the report that I'm going to give is that we have focused more, continued to be faithful, and found new ways to be faithful, and maybe be more faithful, though that can be tricky. But that we will see that God has used us as we have yielded ourselves to Him and given ourselves to one another. And that will make us the church that meets at Beans Corner. Our programs will not, but our investment in His kingdom and in one another as part of His kingdom will. I cannot be the church, and not any one of you can be the church, but together we are the church. So I guess my biggest prayer is that we will unite, that we will connect with one another. And if, because of the stresses, strains of the last 2 years, we've been a little less connected, that we'll be more connected. And that will be what defines us as a church. All of us, together, serving together, caring for one another, connected, no matter what happens Sunday morning. I love you, and I know it's been tough. I'm thankful for the opportunity to struggle alongside. I'm sorry for the ways I have failed, and I am hopeful for, in the grace of God, the ability to continue to serve together and to pursue His kingdom. Here's to 2022.